All right, we're well on the way for the buck deer. Have a few digits to go. So, for those of you who don't know how this whole process works, in Oregon, you are assigned an application number before the draw. And I apologize, I keep looking over. I've got to maintain comments and also keep an eye on the live stream here. So you are assigned an application number, and that's tied to each of your big game applications. So you're assigned, I think, between 1 and 10 million are the options. And then ODFW invites the public to come draw these numbers. And these are what are called the seed numbers. And basically what this says is this is the number that they start counting upwards for when they start looking at application numbers. So for the buck deer here, if you have number 6670261, you are first in line for the random draw or tiebreakers for preference point draws. And 6670262 is second in line and kind of goes down the line. So this is just an extra way to make it seem like everything's a little more random. And it's always fun. We have about a 2-week period between when the seed numbers come out and when the actual draw results are published. And last year I got really lucky and I got an Oregon pronghorn tag in the random draw. And I knew that, or I was fairly certain that I was going to get it ahead of time because of how close my seed number was to the application number. And so it's pretty fun. It doesn't really mean anything by the time, mid-June rolls around. They publish the actual draw results and it doesn't matter, but I really enjoy spending a couple weeks here really digging in and seeing if I drew. So that's kind of where we're at. I am going to talk through a couple ways that you can take a look and see if you are likely to have drawn. But that's kind of where we're at right now. So feel free, put some comments in the chat. If you have any questions about this, I got really into digging through the whole application video or not the video, the spreadsheets. You can actually download the entirety of what everyone applied for on the ODFW website. And you can use those to kind of see what your chances are of drawing and what you think it would take to draw. So that's kind of where we're at. We've done a few. Looks like ODFW maybe is having a few technical difficulties, so at least I'm not the only one. Let's see, what are my numbers here? Buck deer. Well, I'm not drawing either of those, so oh well, that's okay. I'm nowhere close on either of them. And I'm not getting an antelope this year either. Well, that was quick. Yeah, I'm nowhere even in the remote range of any of these. So I guess I'm just hoping I draw one of the premium tags or a sheep or a goat. But yeah, good luck, everyone. Um, this is always fun. I do always enjoy this. Um, and I might be alone on this, but I know a few of my buddies also really dig in and try to see what they draw. Um, but yeah, if any of you have a seed number that you're curious about, if it's reasonably close to these, I'm happy to dig in and take a look at what I think your odds are of actually drawing the tag. You just got to let me know what your application number is, and what unit you applied for, and what species you're after. You can get a pretty good idea based on how many first choice applicants there are, um, all that. Todd asks, how do you find out what your seed number is? Give me 1 second here, and I will show you how to do that. Um, so give me 1 second. I'm just pulling something together here quick. And I will show you exactly how you do this. So all of the information that you care about is going to be on the ODFW website, and it's going to um, just show up there. So give me 1 second, and I will get this up. I'm trying to cover up the units that we apply to, because everyone always gets upset when we start spilling where we're hunting. So just trying to protect the innocent as it is. So let's see if this actually is going to work. You're gonna, all right. So if you log into my ODFW account, you log in and then you go down to the side where it says controlled hunts. And then you are presented with this page. It'll show you your applications, the hunts that I've blocked out that show what units you applied for. And then in this column where it says application number, you'll have an application number. And so what you're looking for is the comparison of the seed number to your application number. The closer your application number is to the seed number, the higher chance you have of drawing a tag in the random draw. And how the Oregon draw works is it's kind of like your application numbers puts you in a spot in the line, and then the seed number says where you start the line. So if you have an application number 10 and seed number 8 gets drawn, you're pretty close. But if you have application number 10 and seed number 13 gets drawn, it goes the whole way around to 10 million and then cycles back. And so it counts up from the seed number, and the first application that it gets, or the first application number that it hits after counting up, is the first tag that gets given. And then it just continues like that. So check in on this application number. And like I said, I'm happy to give you an idea of how everything looks. But I do need, in order to give you some odds, I do need the species, your application number, and the unit, or you can just tell me how many first choice applicants there were last year. That's found in the regulation booklets, or I can look it up real quick, just based on the unit. So let's see. Looks like our sheep number is done. Did I draw that? Nope, I did not. Looking like I'm gonna strike out this year, but that's okay. My dad is also in no danger of drawing a bighorn sheep. Ryan, I'm not sure that you can see it in the ODFW app. I can take a look real quick though. I'm pretty sure that it's only online that you can actually see the application numbers. Checking right now. Although if you go in your app, I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this. You can sort of manage your account right here, and then if you hit proceed, it should open the the website, and then you can go to the same spot. You basically go to your controlled hunts and scroll down, and you should be able to see it. Go kick rocks in the chat. I'm happy to give you your odds, but I do need to know what your numbers are. So. What about goat? How? I'm way at the end of the line for goat. Mm. My dad's kind of sort of close on goat, but I don't think that's going to be close enough. So we'll see. That'd be a real conspiracy if we drew that. That'd be kind of incredible. I'd kind of love that, but everyone would say it's rigged. So just to give you an idea of some of this, we have a number that is 900 or 9.79 million for Rocky Mountain goat. Last year, the people who were drawn are typically within, what's this? That's not going to work. This one was within 1,000, 1,500. So for goat, you got to be really close. I thought for a second my dad had a chance there, but he's not that close to any of these. So premium deer. So those of you who are applying for Oregon, there's a few quirks on some of these where non-residents especially have a higher chance of drawing some of these premium tags than they do a tag in the actual draw. Um, so it's, we'll see. My dad has literally zero chance of an elk, antelope, or deer tag if it's not a premium. All the sheep, the mountain goats they're all completely random. There's no preference point on those. And so these are the ones he's hoping for. Since I moved to Oregon a couple years back, he started applying here again. But Oregon is so punishing to non-residents that he had stopped for quite a while. And even with a handful of the points I've built up, he's a long ways away from actually being able to draw a tag. So. Seems like some people are trying to post comments in here about your app numbers, and it appears that YouTube might be auto moderating them, unfortunately. I'm not sure if I can change the moderation settings on here, but let me see what I can do. Yeah, it doesn't look like I can. So I'm going to make this offer. Any of you that have an Oregon application and you think you're reasonably close to it, if you send me an email, and my email is matthew@onyourownadventures.com. I've pasted it in the chat. I will take a look and I will let you know what I think your odds are of drawing. I need your application number. I need the unit that you applied for, and I need the species that you applied for. And with that information, I should be able to give you a pretty darn good estimate on whether or not you drew. Rhea Hunter, this is the Oregon seed drawing. So how the Oregon draw works, everyone applies for their tags by mid-May, and then Oregon automatically assigns you an application number, and then they go through and they do this public draw where they draw the little balls out of the hopper, and that determines the seed number. And the seed number is where they start counting up from to see if you draw a tag. Um, and so it's a little more complicated than that. There's preference points. There's a random draw component. There's the non-resident and resident allocations, but it's this is fun. This is something that I'm not aware of any other state that does this in such a public fashion, and we're able to have an idea of if we drew a tag a couple weeks before it's actually published. So um, glad to hear you guys like the pronghorn hunt from last year. I had a blast doing it. I just wish that Oregon had the ability to publish it, or not publish, but give out a few more tags, because man, it is hard to draw here. Um, I got really lucky and I got one in the 25% random draw last year, but the unit I drew would have taken 16 or 17 points, preference points, to be guaranteed to draw, and that's a long time to wait between pronghorn hunts. So I I love doing it. I love getting out with my dad. Oregon is just it. It is what it is. The populations are what they are, and there's better opportunities for drawing tags in other states for pronghorn. I am going to get my dad out here for an elk hunt at one time. So, Logan, unit you drew was close to fires. Yeah, the one I drew, we went out there scouting, and there was a massive fire just right over the unit boundary, and that really inhibited how much I was able to get out and scout. And I think would have made life a little easier had I been able to get out there before and actually see that part of the unit. But still had a good time. Loved getting out with my dad and Scott Jones, and so it was fun. Man, I'm striking out on everything here. It does not appear that I'm going to draw any tags whatsoever on this one. Buck deer, nope, nope. Elk. Yeah, I'm about as bad as you can get on these. So let's see what my dad might have drawn here. No on the pronghorn. No on the elk. No on the deer. Well, looks like we struck out in Oregon, but hopefully someone out there on the stream here drew one of your coveted tags that you're looking for. I do actually really like how Oregon does this, where some number of the tags are in a completely random draw, and I know there's a few other states that do that as well, but it just seems disheartening to me if you have these really good units and really fun hunts that you have to put in for 15, or by the time you draw it might be 20 or 25 years. Um, and so every year somebody will draw these awesome tags with 0 or 1 point or something. I think I had 4 points from an antelope tag last year, and I felt like I stole something when I got that. I was so excited when that came out. Um, it's pretty much all I could think about for a couple months leading up to it, and got to go spend a week out there with my girlfriend. We spent a week scouting and camping, and then a week with Scott Jones and my dad, and it was a great time. Loved it. Looks like I just got an email from somebody about a seat number. So I would like to walk you all through how you can do this. All right, so that's all the seed numbers. Um, all right, I'm gonna grab a screenshot of this real quick, and then we're actually gonna do a little hands-on walkthrough on how you do this. So, all right, so this is last year's draw report. You can download these from the ODFW website. If you go in to your account, there is a, what's it called? There's a link that says download controlled hunt reports. And then if you search on that, you're looking for draw results. And then you can download the individual Excel files, and this will tell you anything you ever want to know about it. So, how it works, I'm going to narrow this down to just one unit here, just to make life a little easier. Looks like a lot of people drew this one. Yeah. So, how the Oregon draw works is they look at all the first choice first, and they also go and they do the preference points first. So you can see here the people who drew this, they spent 12 points on this to get their Cascade muzzleloader tag last year. And then it works down to the next group, or the next person had 6 points, and then you had a group of 3 that averaged out to 5, all the way down. And then once the tags have been allocated for preference points, it goes to a random draw. And so these, we got a bunch of people here who actually drew it with 0 points. This may not be a great example on it, but there's, let's see, where's some of these that didn't get picked? So basically what they do preference points, they go down, most points gets first dibs at it. Once they get to 75% of the tags for that unit, they go to a random draw, and then the random draw is based on this seed number and the application number. I'm actually going to change this to one that we can actually see this a little better. I think this is what I want. Yeah. So Mount Emily is one of the highly desired units. We'll see very quickly how this worked. So you had a couple of people apply with 26 points right here, right? I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit so that you guys can see this a little better. So, handful of people applied with 26. One of these people got the single non-resident tag that they gave away for this unit. That means that anyone else who's a non-resident, not going to get a tag. So if we go to residents, we can kind of see how the tag allocations work. We have 25, 24, and then when we get down to 22, everyone that had 22 or higher drew this tag. But then when we get to 21, we see that we have a bunch of people who had 21 points who were not selected. There's a handful down here who are. So what we're looking for is this seed number. I'm just going to copy this over to make life a little easier. So we start looking down. I'm going to freeze these so we can see this a little better. You get to watch me fumble around with Excel, which I promise I'm not that bad at, but freeze paint. Okay, so if we start looking down here, we get to the 21 point level, and I'm actually going to scroll down to this cutoff right here. So this is the seed number, 7254853. This is the seed number from last year, I should say. And you can see that this is the first row that somebody was given a tag. And it is just barely above this seed number. So, it's 30,000-ish digits above. And so they start giving tags away to these seed numbers, or these application numbers, starting right above and then going. There's one that carries, it loops back over when it hits 0. And then you have a bunch of these ones that don't draw. So that was the end of the preference point draw. And then as we get down further, we can I'm actually going to sort this by application number. And then we're going to remove the people who were picked in the preference point draw. So this is going to cover the people who drew a tag potentially in the random draw. And so 25% of the tags go to random. And I sorted this the wrong direction. Go me. So if we go up to the top here, it starts close to 0, works its way up. None of these people got picked. But if we go to right around 7, 2, 5, 4, you start seeing that people get selected. So seed number 7254853 is just a little bit above this person. So this person missed drawing the random Mount Emily tag by just a handful of points. They were actually, what's that, about 1,100 digits too early in line. And so they're effectively at the back of the line. First person that got drawn in the random was this person, 7256548. So they were about 2,000 above the seed number. They got drawn. And so what you're looking for, if you're trying to figure out if you're likely to draw, is you take a look at these reports, filter to the unit that you're looking at, the phase 2 selection reason, say selected, and then you're looking at the difference between the last person who got picked and the seed number. And so that is a difference of about 14,000, if I do my math correctly. And so for Mount Emily here, you have to be very, very close in order to draw this. Some of the other ones that you don't have quite as many people applying for, or you have a lot more tags, you can be a little bit further away. So now that I've gone through that, I'm going to hop back and see what the questions have in the chat. So I did get a couple emails about seed draws, and I am going to not try to spoil anyone's fun, but I'm going to take a quick look at this and see if there's anything reasonable. Douglas, first guess, you are looking pretty good on your elk. I'm going to pull this over so that I don't dox anyone here. Let's see. Let's do the actual math on this, and I will let you know. there is a ton of data in these files, so they're kind of slow to do much with. But let's see. Yeah, Douglas, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you're looking pretty darn good for this one. Let's see. Last year, people were drawing this with quite a few, or pretty off. Yeah. Looking good. Although there do appear to be multiple elk hunts for the unit that you sent, so I'm not sure exactly which one you're looking at, but you do have a very close seed number on there, and you probably would not have drawn like one of the super hard to draw ones, but looking pretty good for the one you sent. I'll take a look at it again when I'm not on the live stream, and I can really tell you for sure where I'm not on a time crunch here. So I got another email from Josh and Leslie Thompson with a handful of seed numbers. Let's see what we got. The other thing that you can look at that's useful to know is if you go into the big game regulations, and then you look in the seasons, this will tell you how many tags are given out for 2025 and how many people were a first choice applicant last year. This info is also available on GoHunt, which is one of our partners. If you use promo code Randy, you'll get a credit to the gear shop, and you'll also get a free year of Fresh Tracks Plus and a couple other goodies. So next year when you're doing your research, it's a pretty useful tool. But let's take a look at what we got here for hunts. So for legal weapon. So some of these, if you're looking at it, there's like Keating for here, for example. There's 329 tags available for 1,350 applicants. 25% of this 329 is about 82 tags. And so those 82 tags are going to be split among people who don't get drawn in the preference point draw. So approximately 1,100 of these first choice applicants are going to be competing for those 82 tags. And so you have decent odds on that one. Whereas Mount Emily that I was looking at earlier, this is deer, but I had elk up. But there's similar numbers to this where you're going to have like 2 tags in the random draw, and there's going to be several thousand people competing for that. So in an instance like Mount Emily, you have to be way closer to the seed number than you do on something like Keating down here or some of these other ones. Like this one, everyone who applied for this as a first choice is going to draw the tag if these numbers hold. And so there's always some movement on the tags and everything. But anyway, that's kind of how this works. Don't mean to hold everyone up here, but thanks everyone for coming out and doing this. Really appreciate it. Wow, was this just not showing correctly the whole time? Yeah, really appreciate everyone coming out here doing this. I I get way too into the Oregon thing, and so this is a ton of fun for me. I'm sorry that the YouTube censors were not showing people what it should have been showing about the or we're not passing along your application numbers to me. I would have really liked to do this for everyone and, provide a little bit of information. But like I said, if you want to just send me an email, matthew@onyourownadventures.com, I will send you the info. And if you're close, I even set up a fun little, I'll just show you guys real quick. I had way too much fun doing this last year. I actually set up a simulation on this so I could see exactly how likely I was to draw. And so this is what the distribution looked like for my pronghorn tag. This is a simulation of 50,000 tag draws, and every mark on this histogram to the left of the red line is one where I wound up drawing the pronghorn tag. And there's only this little group down here where I didn't. So I was fairly certain when the seed and application numbers came out that I was going to draw. But if you're curious, I will actually run this model for you. Send me an email with your application numbers, the unit you applied, all that good stuff. And I will get back to you. But thanks everyone for your time. Really appreciate it. Keep good luck out there, and hopefully you'll be back on our channel soon.